From cheers of the fans to the crack of the bat, learn it all from Jimbo, Gabe, Mike, and Matt. Giving thoughts on all public teams, whether times are boom or if they are lean. Hero players that you should know, not only the good things, highs and the lows. Here it is, we're ready to go. Please enjoy the podcast on with the show.
Good morning, good evening, and good everything in between, and welcome to the podcast. It's all right, good start. It's September 25th. We're coming towards the end of the season. I'm so sad it's ending, but the playoffs are right around the corner. I'm your host, Jim Bobernicki, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Gabe Lurman. How you doing, Gabe?
Man, I'm going to have fun trying to edit around that earlier. I am in good spirits, even though I've had a post-nasal drip for like the last 2 days, and it's driving me bonkers.
Oh, that sucks. Oh my god. Even you just saying that gave you some of the sensation. Yucky, yucky, yucky. And we're joined also by Mr. Michael Bealey. How you doing, Mike?
On the NPB side of things, I'm a nervous wreck. On the MLB side of things, I'm very content. And if you're wondering, I do have a coffee today as well, as per usual.
Well, there you go. That's nice. And so on the NPB side of things, you couldn't be much more content than I am because the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks are your PL pennant champions. Woo! Bow, 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 bow. Celebration fair, yay! Even though I'm actually not that excited because I'm just really scared of the fighters. We'll get into that. But it is amazing to see that the Hawks have had such a wonderful season, wrapping it all up now in the regular season with yet another PL pennant. It's their first time winning it since 2020, and last time they won it in 2020, they also went on to win the Japan Series. So here's hoping that they can keep it up. I'm a little worried. I got my doubts, I'll be honest, but I'm kind of skittish sometimes when it comes playoff time. But, the Hawks have been the best team all year round. It's not really that surprising. I mean, it's not surprising at all. They've led, since day one, I think. But,
I was going to say, I think they've only had, 4 days all season where they were not in first place.
I'd honestly be surprised if it was even that much. Do you guys have any feelings about the Hawks pennant?
Great. Kondo, Yamakawa, you did this. The 2010s were basically the Hawks show. They beat every single CL team in the Japan series at least once. I'm pretty sure they won the pennant 4 years in a row. It makes the last 3 years feel like a blip as opposed to a changing of the guard. And I'm not sure how I like that.
Well, I know that. I like it personally. And so we'll move right into our Around the Horn segment, taking a look at all the teams from top to bottom in the league. And as previously stated, we are starting off with the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, 5-0 since we last spoke, and pennant winners. Definitely a solid week for the Hawks, if I do say so myself. It was really nice to see everyone celebrating and all these videos of all the teams, having fun and drinking and dancing. And it was something I noticed really specifically that it was cool to see was a lot of highlights of Shuto and Kurihara getting a lot of love and recognition. And it's just really nice to see them sort of specifically getting so much time in the spotlight, because for so long it's been Yuki Inagita's team, and then for most of the season it was Kensuke Kondo's show. And so to also see some of the guys who are also there the whole time making a big difference, getting a lot of time is very nice.
And especially Ryoya Kurihara stepping up with the retirement of Nobuhiro Matsuda. Remember, Match was the third baseman for most of that 2010s dynasty. For Kurihara to get a full season in, healthy, and be as big of a contributor as he has been, I think that's got to feel good.
Yeah, for sure. And I almost wonder even, could he sort of maybe step into the mantle of being the new captain after Yanagita's gone? Because he's kind of
don't fast forward yet. I'm pretty sure Yanagita has got another season or two.
Well, yeah, for sure. I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm just saying, we need to think about that eventually. But hey, we'll see how the playoffs go. Maybe he's in for a great time. But still, I'm hedging my bets a little bit. I can't help but take a page out of the book of Kobe. Job's not done. They still got to win 2 more series before the real celebration can begin, and those aren't going to be easy because the Fighters are the only team that have had the Hawks number all season, and we'll see who comes out of the CL. I don't usually give the CL much credit, but I'm not going to discard them when it comes to the Japan series, obviously.
I will point out that the Fighters have a better record than anyone in the CL, so shush.
There is that too. Yeah, I guess I guess the PL Climax series will actually be the true Japan series. But some other Hawks related news: our Big Bang machine Hotaka Yamakawa hit his 250th home run this week, making him the 70th MVP player to reach that mark. And hopefully, here's to many more. Hopefully, some in the postseason. And Yamakawa also becomes the second player in MPB history to lead two different teams in home runs, following the footsteps of Oryx Buffalo legends Tuffy Rhodes. So very cool to see that. I also wonder, is he the first guy to lead the league in two different for two different teams, or would Tuffy Rhodes also apply to that? Very very likely, actually, knowing him. And also, Mr. the Luminary 43-year-old Tsuyoshi Wada picked up his first career hold this week, making him the oldest Hawk ever to earn a hold. Nice to always see him around. I have visions of storybook postseason success with him. Hopefully, that would be such a cool thing to see. But we will see if we get around to that. Oh, yes, Jeter Downs also picked up his first career hit. Yeah, sorry about that.
Not only did Jeter Downs get his first NPB hit, the Hawks almost had a combined no-hitter earlier today until Daiju Nomura of the Lions broke it up with two out in the bottom or in the top of the ninth. Roberto Osuna still gets the save, but blows the no-hitter courtesy of a triple, a ringing one off the top third of the wall.
And we'll swing it right over to the only team in baseball that I'm scared of as a Hawks fan, the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. Take it away, Gabe.
2-3 in the last week as the pace of games slows. 5.5 games up with 8 to play. They haven't clinched yet, but maybe we can stop clenching, as in our behinds. We can feel a little bit more confident. In terms of games remaining, the Fighters have one at home against the Eagles later, or tomorrow, I should say. Two at home against the Hawks over the weekend, and then they finish the season on the road, one each against the Lions and Marines, and then two against the Eagles. So they may have an opportunity to really choose their opponent if they maybe don't try so hard against the Eagles and try really hard against the Marines. Just putting that out there.
Just giving Mike nightmares.
Oh yeah, poor Mike's cardiac health is going straight down the tubes. Reliever Yohei Kagia got to start his retirement game earlier today. He got the first two outs before being relieved, letting manager Tsuyoshi Shinjo deliver some flowers to him. The fans could give him an ovation as he left the mound, and he handed the ball over to Shona Karemura, who pitched the next 7 1/3 innings in what wound up being a 3-1 Eagles win. I mean, one downside of Tsuyoshi Shinjo's load management and the bench depth that he's got is how few fighters are qualifying for the batting title. Only 4 players on the team have over 115 games played. Ariel Martinez, Go Matsumoto, Chusei Manami, and Yuya Gunji, who is now sitting 11th in the batting race. I mean, then again, all 3 of those guys have double-digit home runs, so they are still definitely contributing. But it means guys like Yua Tamiya, Shun Mizutani, and Franmil Reyes, who all have around a 290 batting average, aren't getting the respect and attention they deserve. Any of those guys qualifying would sit 3rd in the batting race, behind Kensuke Kondo, of course, and Eagles center fielder Ryosuke Tatsumi, but ahead of Marines catcher Toshiya Sato. One last element of the Fighters' success this season: they have 3 pitchers in the top 10 for ERA. Lefties Takayuki Kato, Satya Yamasaki, and right-hander Hiromi Ito. Yamasaki's probably the biggest reason the Fighters' pitching staff has been so dependable this season. Remember, he's a free agent pickup, and he's delivered double-digit wins for Nippon Ham. I can't wait to see how loud that building's going to be for the first postseason games in Escon Field Hokkaido history.
Oh, yeah, I cannot wait to watch those. That's going to be amazing. And so that brings us over to our 3rd place team fighting for their playoff lives, the Chiba Lodi Marines. Take it away, Mike.
All right, so the Marines are currently back in 3rd place, but of course, really, who knows for how long? 4-6 in their last 10, and there's not much baseball left to be played. I believe it's 7 games left for the Marines right now. Hoping they can win their last few remaining games to keep that 3rd place spot. Not too concerned about that game against Oryx, and after that, they have 2 games against Cebu, who have seemed to figure out how to beat Lotte as of recent. And then there's 2 games against Rakuten before closing out with 1 game against the Fighters and 1 game against the Hawks. they'll spend their last couple of games bouncing around a bit. They'll be at home for Oryx and away for 4 games, and they have an off day, and then it's then they're home, and then it's on the way to Fukuoka the very next day. So I would imagine they'd be a bit tired from travel during those games. But I mean, let's be real, that's what, 2 hours on the Shinkansen, if that. Funnily enough, I thought for a minute before checking who was the home and away for those games. I misread the thing and I thought the Marines were home for the Hawks game, and I was like, oh, that might be good. They might, let all the starters rest for a game away from Fukuoka. You don't want them to do something before the playoffs. You don't want Yamakawa to tweak something. And then I found out they were at home in Fukuoka. I'm like, oh yeah, they're not going to deny the Fukuoka fans at home a full lineup on the last day of play. At least in my opinion, I don't think they would. So I went right back to being, oh, that's scary. That's horrifying.
I don't know. You say that, but with Kondo and Yanagita out, oh, maybe Yanagita comes back for the last game. That'd be
I mean,
amazing.
Yanagita is working his way back. He is doing some rehab.
That'd be fun.
Oh, just make me more terrified, why don't you?
As a neutral, I would prefer the
As a
Marines.
neutral.
Well, I'm neutral. Okay, neutral from the perspective of would I rather see the Marines or the Eagles in the playoffs? I would rather see the Marines. However, the idea of the Lions being the reason the Marines don't make the playoffs this year specifically is very funny. And I would
Oh yeah,
really
drop
like to see
16
that.
games and then reach up from the grave to drag them down.
It's
I could honestly respect it. I do like when teams just decide to play spoiler, like, hey, we're out of it. We've been out of it for months, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna, let you
doesn't mean
win
I'm
it.
not going to ruin your season.
Yeah, like the Pirates are always elite in MLB for like the last 10 games of the season, just ruining it for everybody else. Marlins too. I admire that kind of hater energy.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that last game of the season against Fukuoka, I'm gonna assume it'll be at max capacity, full strength, and just that's scary. But some other notes here on 9/20 on September 22nd. They beat Seibu 7-2 with Hiroki Sasaki going 7 innings, allowed 2 runs, one of them earned, one walk and 10 Ks. And I actually saw that start not going viral, but it was being shared on social media amongst a lot of baseball accounts. And it was all like the future of MLB, Hiroki this and all that. And the whole time I'm sitting there just thinking, guys, it's the 2024 Lions. You could probably walk down Shibuya on a Sunday morning, get 9 drunk guys, and put together a team and have them hold their own. And then I remembered that the podcast Jinx exists, and now that I've said this, they're gonna, as we said, drag them to the bottom of the earth. They'll drop 20-0 each games against them coming up. Now that I've said that, but it was really cool to
because
see.
the podcast jinx exists, you've also now made it so that they'll beat the Hawks. So we'll see.
That could happen. That could happen. I just feel like it always goes in a negative trend. Actually, nah, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, it really cool to see, a Marines, obviously, generational talent and just the Marines in general, trending on social media a bit. I saw a lot of people asking about the Marines. I told people to hop on, some of my personal accounts, like, hey, let's all be Marines fans. So that was kind of cool. But just looking back over some random things from the season and everything as we close it out. And as we probably already know, Neftali Soto was the best player in basically every situation, batting wise on the team. I looked at the advanced metrics thanks to Delta Graphs. High leverage, Neftali Soto. Low leverage, Neftali Soto. Runners on bases, runners in scoring position, Neftali Soto. Base empty, Neftali Soto. It was basically him and Gregory Polanco and Hiromi Oka in like the top three of pretty much every offensive category. And then I guess I just wasn't noticing it, but Toshiya Sato, he's been great all season, and I've never really brought it up. I guess because all the other numbers were more eye-popping, all the other stats, I don't know, but I really should just mention, how great he's been. The hitter with the lowest performance in these same situations was Shogo Nakamura with a 184 batting average in, low leverage, runners on, etc. Not going to go into advanced stats with that just because it's basically all the same. They all tell the same story.
Yeah, and that tracks with how Shogo's season has gone this year.
Yeah, it's hopefully he can, the former captain can come back next year because I mean, I do own a Nakamura jersey. I do want to see him do well. Another honestly an unsung hero that I've barely mentioned, Katsuya Kakanaka. He's been really good. I didn't even realize it till today. I was looking at a lot of the Marines offensive stats and he's only played 79 games this season. A lot of it as a pinch hitter, late game replacement. He doesn't start all the time. But his stats have been really, really good. He's been 306 batting average with runners in scoring position and only 6 Ks with runners on base, and that's all season out of all those games he's played. So I thought that was really good. And like I said, I guess, I was looking at the more eye-popping numbers of the other players, but yeah, he's been really good. And if they can make a run towards a climax series, hopefully he can stay the way he is. Just all four of them. Another thing, before I move on to the pitching, one thing I found interesting was if I asked you guys, just feel free to answer, who do you think led the Marines with intentional walks this season?
Intentional walks.
Intentional.
I'm gonna go with Fujiwara.
And Jimbo?
Polanco, but I feel like that's the wrong answer.
So all of us were wrong because I thought it would have been Soto, and it was actually Hiromi Oka with 6.
Really?
Yeah. After him, it's like Polanco, Soto, and I think Kakunaka with 2 each. So since I have literally nothing better to do, I went back and looked at the game logs for those 6 intentional walks, and he was batting leadoff, and I think all of them, and they pretty much were all the right move. The next batter struck out swinging or struck out looking each one of those, but I was actually surprised it was Oka. And then I just I didn't expect that at all. I figured it would have been Soto for with 12 or something.
Yeah,
But not much.
that's the obvious.
No, Hiromi Oka, which really shocked me because I mean obviously I don't stay up to watch every game, but I was like I haven't really seen an intentional walk. I checked the box scores and game logs in the morning. I was like I haven't seen that at all.
I don't think they call out IBBs specifically on
Hmm.
the box scores on NPB dot.
Eh,
I don't think so.
could be. You're probably right. But as for the pitching, it's been good this season. Kazuya Ojima leads the staff with 11 wins and 11-10 record. After him, it's Sasaki 9-5. Mercedes, of course, is always the unlucky one with the offense taking a break when he's starting. I think the rotation looks good going to the end of the year. I think it looks solid going towards the postseason. Bullpen's been kind of all over the place. I swear it's really good for one series, and then the next series, it's like just some nonsense happens. I think Dallas Keuchel will be an important piece in the postseason, and he's got postseason experience, and he's a former Cy Young winner. He was on the 2017 Astros, wasn't he? If I recall correctly, I believe he
You
was.
recall correctly, and there's another 2017 Astro who's going to figure into the broadcast later.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's the rotation looks solid going in. I have questions about the bullpen, and of course, just need the offense to pick it up, and everybody I mentioned previously to be clutch. And I've rambled on enough about the Marines for right now.
Well, there we go, bud. It's your turn to ramble now about the 4th place team that are hot on their tails, the Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles. Take it away again, Mike.
I love yapping. All right, Rakuten has fallen back to 3rd place, but they are playing better baseball than the Marines right now. 7-3 in their last 10. 9 games left for Rakuten compared to Lotte, who, as I mentioned, have 7. And then 2 of these 9 games that Rakuten have are against the Marines. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty close to end the season for both teams. I would say the biggest news going on for Rakuten right now is that Masahiro Tanaka will be returning to action. I believe, he's scheduled to return on the 28th. So be sure to tune into Pacific League and watch that game. Depending how that start goes, I have kind of lost track of how his rehab starts were going. I would assume they were going well if he's being called up now. The addition of Tanaka, depending on how the start goes, could be a huge get for Rakuten as they wrap up the season and could be great for them if they make the playoffs. Odd year for Rakuten. I mean, Asamura leads the team in home runs with a total of 14. After that, it's Yuya Ogo and Ryosuke Tatsumi with 7 each. Tatsumi right now is the team leader in average with 293, RBI with 56. Looking at all the qualified hitters on Rakuten, all of them have been great with runners in scoring position. For example, Tatsumi batting 317, Ogo 293, Suzuki 288. Looking at just the offensive numbers as a team as a whole, all of it looks pretty good. It's kind of hard to believe that they're really in the position that they're in. They don't have 3rd place just flat out locked down, or even 2nd place. But like every time when I was looking at just all the metrics, I was like, wow, this on paper it just looks like they demolish pitching 24/7.
It may just be a matter of sequencing, Mike, because Imae ball, referring to the manager Toshiaki Imae, yes, it involves speed, it involves a lot of slap hits. There's, not saying the ball is deadened, but I'm not saying that. And if you don't get all those hits in a row, if they're scattered out, then you're only going to come away with 1 run or 2.
Yeah, in my notes, I was just going to ignore this, but I did say, just looking at it and not looking at the games, I was going to say you kind of get that stat nerd tunnel vision where you're like, oh, this is amazing, and then the team's in last place. For example, like the Pirates, everybody says, they got like this player's amazing, all these stats are great, and it's like, okay, why are they in last place? But speaking of Yuya Ogo, as mentioned earlier, he's gotten to 30 stolen bases, and Hiroto Kobakata is right behind him with 28, and Tatsumi has 19. So as you said, Imai Ball is clearly focused on that speed, and stolen bases are fun. Maybe they should make the bases bigger. No, they shouldn't.
Maybe they should. I don't know.
I'm still a big believer in the double width first base, so that way we don't have collisions at first on every hard hit ground ball.
Yeah, for
Do
sure.
like that.
I think that goes without saying personally, but
Now I need it to be pure. I need everybody to get hurt. That's what I need. But moving on to the pitching, the rotation looks good and has been good. Takahisa Hayakawa has been amazing this year with an 11-5 record, 2.37 ERA across 159 innings pitched. Masaru Fuji also 11-5 with a 3.03 ERA. Takayuki Kishi, of course, 2.88 ERA, 6-10. So rotation's been great. Takahiro Norimoto has been the ace of the bullpen, 3-3 record, 3.35 ERA over 53 games, 32 saves and 4 holds. Sora Suzuki has been great, 22 holds with a 1.77 ERA. Tomohito Sakai, 2.49 ERA, 25 holds. The bullpen's really good, and if they do make that push towards the postseason, they're going to have to stay that way, and the offense is going to have to string together all those hits because I'll just end on this note right here regarding the Eagles. The Eagles have a 6 ERA exactly against the Hawks. That's them pitching to the Hawks, and a 3.68 ERA against the Fighters. And as a team, they also have the lowest batting average against the Hawks and the Fighters. So they will have a lot of work to do if they are able to get that third place spot.
well, yeah, I think everyone's going to have something, going to have a lot of hard work to do when they get into the playoffs against the Fighters and Hawks. But that brings us over to a team that is not going to have to worry about that, unfortunately. The fifth place team, the Oryx Buffaloes. Take it away, Gabe.
Your ex-Buffaloes have, quote-unquote, clinched fifth place this season. Oh, goody. September has not been kind to Oryx. They've gone 5-14 this month. 1-4 since we last checked in. They've lost the last 3 in a row. All 6 of their remaining games are on the road. Marines, Eagles for 2, Hawks for a pair, and then a 4-day layoff before playing the Eagles in Sendai between the 2 games that the Eagles have against the Fighters. If I'm the Fighters, I'm just like chilling in the stands for that game. Why not? Buffalo starter Shunpeita Yamashita has been on fuego to close out the season, pitching to a 1.69 ERA over 32 innings with 45 strikeouts in his last 5 starts, compared to his first 8 games on the season where he had an ERA over 6. Lefty Hiroya Miyagi's also been a stalwart in the rotation, leading the Buffaloes with a 2.03 ERA. Mix in Ryuhei Soltani at 2.31, Daiki Tajima at 3.36, Anderson Espinoza at 2.63, and Luis Castillo at 2.96. There's your Buffalo's pitching lab, still undefeated. Buffalo's manager Satoshi Nakajima apologized to Buffalo's fans at yesterday's home finale for not being able to win a 4th consecutive pennant. Given the turnaround he steered the Buffaloes through, I think he's earned some leniency. I think one down year is not going to be the end of his tenure. And as per NHK, Oryx management has indeed offered Nakajima a 1-year extension to stick with the team. The same article pointed out that the Buffaloes have been shut out 23 times this season. Might be time to go get another foreign bat. Like Leandro Cedeno, who is finishing the season hot and may end up leading the team in home runs with 13. There were 3 players who had more than that count last year: Tomoya Mori, Yutaro Sugimoto, and Yuma Tongu. Not saying the deadened balls affected the Buffaloes the most, but not saying that, and it certainly didn't help. Speaking of foreign bats, one more player from Oryx will be retiring at the end of the season. Marwin Gonzalez, El Mago, will call it a career. The 35-year-old Venezuelan utility man won the World Series with the Astros in 2017 and has 107 career home runs in the majors, plus 12 from last season and this one in NPB. One last thought for the Buffaloes. Now that the season's cooked, now that their place is locked in, is it time to pull Yoshihisa Hirano out of the Shadow Realm to let him try and get to save number 250 finally?
I mean, it'd be nice, but yeah, screw it. Why not? Honestly. And so that brings us over to the last place team, the team that's had the last place locked up for most of, if not all, the season. It feels like the Saitama Seibu Lions, but yeah, you know what? I've been a lot more positive about them lately. 2-3 in the last week, but there's just an air of positivity going around. It feels like a lot of the guys are auditioning for spots next year, and some guys I've been noticing that I'm particularly high on are Minaya Nishikawa and Daiju Nomura. Both feel like they can bring something to the table next year. Nishikawa doesn't have much of a bat, but he's really good in center field. And Nomura also kind of, low 200s batting average, but his 414 slugging is nothing to scoff at. And he could be at least a short-term solution at first base because they've just had no one since Yamakawa left. So it'd be nice to see those two guys stick around as well as the rest of the team build up around them. The Lions have confirmed former ace Fumiya Nishiguchi is their new manager. Nishiguchi pitched for Lions for 20 years from 1995 to 2015 before joining as a coach in 2017. Among his career highlights include 4 All-Star appearances in the late 90s, including an MVP and Sawamura Award in 97. And I'm going to assume he's been working with the pitching staff since 2017. So
he's actually been the farm team manager.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure he's seen and worked with some of the guys who are on the team now, and the pitching staff is the one thing that they've got going for them, so maybe he's got something going on there. And speaking of pitching, Kona Takahashi looks to be done for the season. He has suffered a minor injury the other day, and given where they are in the season, there's no reason to put more stress on the 27-year-old. He finishes the season with an 0-11 record and a 3.87 ERA, and this is his first season with under 90 strikeouts since 2019. He was pretty good last year and in the years leading up, but yeah, had a very rough year this year. And again, speaking of another pitching milestone, for better or worse, Chihiro Sumida finishes his 3rd consecutive season to start his career with 10 losses. It's not all that bad, though, as the former first-rounder has racked up more innings and more strikeouts year over year, as well as less walks and a career-low ERA of 2.8 this year. I was actually showing highlights of him pitching to a coworker of mine who likes baseball, and he was quite impressed with him. His changeup is dirty. Like, man, that thing is filthy. So, yeah, I mean, he doesn't win a lot because Lions, right? But he's a really good pitcher. And I know I've maybe privately traded him a couple times, but he's good. He'll stick around. Let's keep him.
In the words of 20-game loser from the 2003 Detroit Tigers, Mike Maroff, you have to be a pretty good pitcher to lose 10 games 3 seasons in a row.
That's right. Exactly. So here's to hopefully 10 wins next season. Let's try to get that going. But in positive news, this was really nice when I saw it. The Lions managed to finish their season series against the Oryx Buffaloes 13-12, eking out a not losing record against every single team in the PL for the first time in their history. So I would like to thank your Buffaloes, Gabe, for letting the Lions not quite be as disastrous as they could have been, though it has still been just about as bad as it possibly could have been on every front.
Don't mention it.
And so that brings us over to our final segment. It's our old faces in new places. What do we have going on with the boys stateside?
53 home runs and 55 stolen bases for Shohei Ohtani at last check. Miracle.
That's pretty good.
That's what it is.
That's it.
Congratulations to former Fighters pitcher Yu Darvish for becoming the first Japanese pitcher to reach 2,000 career strikeouts in MLB. What a storied career he's had. And hey, maybe at the end of his current tenure, he'll come back over the Pacific and get another season in with the Fighters. Why not? Why not? Also, congrats to former Lion Yusei Kikuchi for becoming the 6th Japanese pitcher to notch 200 strikeouts in an MLB season. He actually picked up another 8 in today's game against the Mariners. The others who got there before him, the aforementioned Yu Darvish and Shohei Ohtani, along with former Lion Daisuke Matsuzaka, former Hawk Kodai Senga last season, and former Buffalo Hideo Nomo. Incredibly, not Masahiro Tanaka. The closest he got was 194 back in 2017.
And that brings us to the end of today's show. Thank you as ever for listening. And hey, you got to get on PLTV now because the playoffs are coming. We will be carrying all of the Pacific League playoff games leading into the Japan Series. We don't have the Japan Series, unfortunately, but you will get to see some of the best baseball in the playoffs coming around. And also, you get to see the teams fighting for the playoffs. So please do check out PLTV and check out our next broadcast next week as we finish up the season. So, as always, have a wonderful day. Do your brush your teeth, pay your taxes.
Man, we got to script you an outro.
Respect your mother, your father, and do all that YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a wonderful day. We'll take care.
It's like landing a jumbo jet some days with you, Jim.
I usually do really good. That one was just fun.